Hello everyone, welcome to my next educational video on guppies. Today we will talk about breeding guppies. We'll get into some of the basics of my setup that I use for breeding my guppies, and then we'll start touching in a little bit more on the selection of breeders and how I select my breeders. And the techniques given to you today are good for regardless of whatever your goals are with your fish. Let them be IFGA show standards if that's what you're breeding for, or just a general look that you may be looking for in your guppy. So to start out, I breed in 5.5 gallon tanks, and this rack behind me is 3-tiered, and it's got 15 5-gallon tanks on it that support this room and what I'm doing. And in general, I select 3 to 4 females, and I usually put 2 males on the females. Now, some instances where I'll get an exceptional male, or it's really holding those qualities that a lot of the other fish in the tank does not have, that I really want to pass on that individual's genes, then I'll just use a single male. But most of the time I will select 2 different males, and it's not, I should say it's very rare that I will select a male based on just its size. You know, a lot of people, I want the biggest fish, so I'm going to grab the fish with the most size, the male with the most size. But when I breed, I am thinking about the entire fish. What characteristics that I know are harder to obtain and fix later if you get them wrong, and have that as a priority when selecting my breeders, more so than a certain characteristics. Now, there's times where you will have to select a fish for certain characteristics. It may be you may be having an issue with a snake skin not getting enough pattern, or most of the fish in the line, or a half black line not having a very nice colored half black. In order to bring more of that, of what you want into that line, you may have to surpass some of other aspects that may not be as ideal in other fish that you see in the tank that you could select in order to obtain your ultimate goal. And those 2 particular things, you know, body color, are things that are very hard to obtain and have properly. Snake skins with lace usually stays pretty good, but you can lose it. I've seen it. I've done a lot of years of breeding snake skins. I recently was into them, and now I'm getting back out of them again just because of tank space wise. But anyways, the second thing and the biggest issue that I almost never ever want to ignore or pick a fish without a good quality shape on a dorsal. So if there's a particular shape that you're looking for me, I breed IFGA show standard. So I'm looking for that 3-to-1 dorsal and a delta, which is what I mostly breed for. You can have 4 to 5-to-1 for a veil tail fish, which when I talk about delta, I'm talking about angles and degrees of caudal, of what angle you're going to have on that caudal, to what the dorsal should look like according to IFGA show standards. And this is all available if you're an IFGA member. You can go in and read their standards and what to expect. But in general, the dorsal, no matter if you're shooting for IFGA show standards or you want a balloon dorsal, whatever you want, the dorsal's probably the hardest thing to get right and keep right. you want to be very mindful of that when you are selecting your breeders, and make that a number 1 or number 2 priority, that whatever fish you're setting up, even if it has a lot of other good things going for it, you don't want to select that male if it doesn't have good dorsal. Unless you, obviously, if every single male in the tank is that way, you don't have a choice, but you're going to have to do some type of cross to a line, or breed that to a line that is not genetically similar or have close relations to your current line, in order to what we consider in the hobby is opening up the gene pool to expose the shape that you may be looking for in your dorsal, or the characteristics that you'll be looking for in your dorsal. In certain circumstances, that's the only way. It's been inbred so long that it's your gene pool is so tight, your traits are so tight, everything's so cookie cutter like, that it's very hard to just randomly get a good dorsal or a particular characteristic in a fish that you're looking for, because it's been bred that way for so long. And even if you do end up having to get one, oftentimes you'll breed that, but the females will also have it living strong into their genes, still mix some of the background genes of the male, and you see very little improvement. So with that said, the number 1 thing, believe it or not, that I look for when I'm breeding is I want a good dorsal. Now there's some exceptions. I got some full reds that popped out of the line I'm working with here that had good red body color, but the dorsals ain't quite as well. But this is a super rare exception. You're only going to see me do something like this where I'm not selecting with a heavy mindset of dorsal shape, and color for that matter, first and foremost. Once in 5 years maybe I'll have that happen, that I'll have to do something, and it's usually when I'm working on a major project, and that's what my reds are to me right now, is a major project. So when doing breeders, you got to take that stuff into account. And it's also good to know, before you get too far into it, some genes that are more dominant. Snakeskin's pretty dominant. Slightly second it takes to a half black color on fish. The half black cast, no matter what you cross to, is generally going to show in a lot of your fish of the F1 generation. So a half black's a very heavy gene. Snakeskin's a very hard, heavy gene that you need to take in consideration. Now, what most people don't realize is your size gene, although it can be linked to males and sometimes, but 90% of the time, size comes from your females. Okay, so just because you may not be selecting the biggest male, because you're probably going after other traits that are more desirable or that you need in that line, doesn't mean you're not going to get other fish the next generation as big as some of the males that are in this generation that you're thinking in the back of your head that you may want to select just because they're big. So you need to try to talk yourself away when you're looking at males from picking the biggest out, because it's coming a lot of the times from the females. Now, one thing that you do want is, in most lines, you want your color to come from your male. So in particular, you think about half black yellows. You don't want to pick a half black yellow with a lot of black or really vibrant yellow in their caudal, because you oftentimes will run into hormones on the fish, which can cause you fertility problems, deformities. You also will run into situations where you can get so much color, especially with half black yellows, that the caudal color can get dirty. You'll start getting spots in the caudal, or you'll get black coming out of off the body into the back of the caudal. too much color change in the females can do a lot of bad things. Now I understand that there is lines out there, some of your half black AOCs, some of your grass fish, they all have good color in their in the females, but you'll also notice the males got good color, and it doesn't seem to affect that line very much in having good or a lot of color. But when you start picking into some of your half blacks, you got to be really, really careful. It can be somewhat beneficial to have the strong colored, solid color fish for like your blues and your purples and your greens. That doesn't hurt too bad. But the other thing that comes out of your females is shape. A lot of people don't realize this, that your shape of your females and how triangular shape your tails are. Now you have round tails, you have shark tails, and you have delta tails. And the typical IFGA fish and most guppy strains out there, you do have pintail varieties, but that's very, very specific and local to some areas of the world. But those are your three, and in order of preference for me, with liking the triangular shaped tails, is your delta tails. You want points on the edge of the caudals on your females. So ideally I would select delta tails, followed by your shark tail fish, and then third round tail. Now some will produce only all round tail. Some will produce a mix of everything. Some will produce a mix of just two of the three. You gotta work with what you're given. But also when you make crosses of unrelated lines, and you may get lucky and have a female pop up that is what I consider a higher priority or a better breeder, such as a delta tail, then try to take advantage of the fish, as long as there's no other major deformities such as a bent spine. One thing I shoot for, I like short, stubby females. And you take the female and you just crunch them together. Those are usually your best breeders. They create males with really thick peduncles that will help the males as they age and they get these bigger caudals to carry their caudals. So I want a short female with a thick peduncle. Now if you're looking to show females, a lot of times people will pick the opposite or pick longer, but usually you don't get too many lines that'll produce really good show females and really good show males, because the characteristics of a good show female can actually be detrimental to a good show male. I don't really believe it should be that way, and the standard should be set up that way, but that's the way it is. So when you look through, I'm going to go through in a couple of minutes. I do plan on doing some videos coming up, and as I have new breeders and I want to do new breeder setups, I'm going to try to set up the camera in such a way and do a shoot where you could see me selecting males or taking males out. I usually generally scoop them all up, put them in what we consider specimen containers, and then I'll select the bad ones and put them back in the tank, or ones that I decide I'm not going to breed, until I get down to that two, sometimes, like I said, one male. And I'm going to do some videos of actually doing that, and I'll also do females as well. So you'll be able to watch as I'm selecting new breeders, and I'll be telling you why I'm not selecting a fish, or I'm removing the fish from running to be breeder. So you'll see that I'm going to do multiple color strains. That is my upcoming videos and what you're about to see coming from me. So you heard it first and seen it first here with me. But with no further ado, without getting too much further into it, I'm going to go ahead and I'll walk you around, take you off the tripod here, and I'll show you some of my breeders, and we'll close the video like that. So, right now I got a lot of reds set up. Reds are my current major project, and this is my full reds. Yes, I could use more full up to the front, but this is just my starting point. This is where I'm coming from with them. And you'll see this is the one that I said the exception. Look, you're looking for normally 3-to-1 dorsal ratio on a delta like this, and these are a little bit on the balloonier side. They're not horrible, but they're a little rounded when you get to the back where they should be pointed when you get to the back of the dorsal. Not ideal, but these were the only 2 males that dropped out of my American Reds that had some full body coloration. So in this particular case, I had to go with what I had. But you could see in this thing, even the females and the males have good color. Now, not all red lines have a lot of good color, but I kind of have selected these that way on purpose, which is another exception, because I'm trying to get that red into the body. Very, very rare, kind of going against a lot of things I just said and normally do in the video. Kind of weird to start with this, but that's where I'm at with that. One of my American green lines down here. Now this is more typical. I did not select these for size. I select number 1 usually for shape on anything, seconded by color. Okay, overall shape of the fish to whatever I'm looking to breed towards, seconded by color. You can see these have wonderful green color, and it even goes up into their body and stomach area. And you'll see these females are nice, more short, stout females to give me that thick peduncle that we talked about. Here's a very similar situation. You'll see that with these American purples. One of the red lines I'm working on. More reds. These are half black greens, and a big thing with these is I wanted one selected for the darkest half black. So I actually got 3 males in there. That's an exception, and it's because I didn't know if I was going to have to pull one out, which was this guy, and I think I may still, because he's not showing the best of half black. These are my half black purple line, one of them. Very excellent black color. I don't have to worry too much about the color, and these, because all males pretty much have the good black in general. Nice purple. So it's very, very much so concentrating on size of the male and the shape. The shape first, then size. Some blues. My blue line, one of my blue lines, American blues. Overall, really good fish. Just a project gray-bodied red line that I'm working on. It's going to be part of making my gold body reds darker. Opening up some genes, reintroducing genes to help do what I want to do. This is my green Moscows. Got an older male back there. On some nice females. You will see some nice color in these females, but there's actually, the color does not follow all the way through their caudal. They're kind of a little bit more blah, dull. And that's what I'm looking for with those. That's what I know where I want the males to be carrying, that bright gene and color. It's more likely